conversation with myself, Lisa. We've got Paul here from Narrowboat Life Unlocked and Maxine from Never Too Late, Our Journey. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. We are three YouTube vloggers who just love a good conversation. We just love to pick a subject and explore it. We're not experts pretty much in anything, but we just love to think and share and talk, and you are more than welcome to join us. If you're returning and you've been here before, you know that we sometimes go off tangent. We take a turn and we just, things come up and we're like, well, how does that work and what does that mean? We just like to explore a topic. And this week, it's going to be relationships. Paul, you suggested this on last week's conversation. And I must admit, we were all a bit like, ooh. So I'm nervous. I'm saying that straight up. I'm nervous about this. And can I just say, we are not, well, I am certainly not. I can't speak for you two. I am not approaching this as an expert in relationships. No. I am still living and learning every freaking day, I tell you. But
I'm looking for pearls of wisdom from you, Lisa.
There are none. Let's get that clear straight away. No pearls of wisdom from me on this one.
I'll put my notebook away.
Yeah. Before we start talking about relationships, though, let's have a catch up. What have you been up to? Where are you on the Canal Network? And how's your week going? Paul?
We had a great week at Parbold last week and met some lovely people, met some viewers, which was really nice. And then we sailed down the canal. It was a gorgeous day, a couple of hours towards Latham and Burscough. We nearly headed down the Rufford branch to go to our mooring where we're going for a few days, but we decided to back out and reverse out of a lock, which we'd never done before. Wasn't as difficult as we thought, and we ordered a meal at the local pub, and we're still waiting for that meal because they completely forgot our order. But yeah, we've had a great week, and it's very noisy. The road's quite noisy here. You may hear some banging. It's not me, but there are loads of ducklings about, so they more than make up for it.
Lovely. You cannot beat this time of year on the canals for cuteness. I mean, it is up there, isn't it? It is up there. That's brilliant, Paul. It sounds, apart from your missing meal, the whole thing sounds like a good week. Maxine, now I know you have just moored up. Where are you? Where you been? Where you going? Tell us.
Well, we've just finished the end of the Ashby Canal, and we had to stay at the top there for a couple of days because we had to have an engineer out because we've had problems with batteries and things. So this morning we set off because we want to get off the Ashby because I've had enough of it now because we've been on here for about 10-15 days, and we are at Market Bosworth. But we've had a good week because my parents came down to see us on Sunday and bought a sushi meal, which was fantastic. So my dad makes sushi, so that was good, and we went for a lovely walk. So we've had some fun, but you'll just see a boat going.
Oh yeah, always. Maxine organises that every week. That happened last week, didn't it? Maxine organises that for everybody watching, a boat to go past. Maxine, did I see that you're making a cookbook?
Yes, I've started writing my cookbook. Yes, that's I've been keeping notes of my recipes for years, and so I said, right. Well, a few people have said to me, why don't you write it? And then I thought,
wonderful.
So it's all started. It's been fun.
Yeah, excellent. Busy old week. What have I been up to? Well, been down to the caravan. That was lovely. It was pirate weekend. And I was amazed at the quality of the pirates at the pirate weekend. I mean, they were bloody amazing. Honestly, I was thinking, I can't believe people have these pirate outfits in their wardrobe all year waiting for, this weekend. But there was many quality pirates at the pirate weekend. We came back. I've been working and so just quite a dull week, to be honest. I mean, just a little bit dull. But Louise and Dave from Narrowboat Changing Pace, they stayed over last night as a break on a massive road trip they're doing. But they shot off early this morning. But other than that, be quite dull. But anyway, I was talking to Louise about relationships. I was saying that we were talking to. She has some really different views. Honestly, one day we need to get someone on that thinks not like us. We're very similar, aren't we? We are all very similar. So, that is cool. So I want to say hello to Lucy, Gordon, and Kelly that have popped up in the chat. Oh, let me hit the chat button actually, and then we can see that. So, relationship. Are you sure? We want to ride this train, Paul? Are you sure?
It's fine for me because we were discussing what makes a relationship, and do you need a break from each other? And we've split up, so it's
start again. Start fresh.
I was a bit worried, but that's the funny thing, though, isn't it? It's being honest, and sometimes you think. Yeah, I was just very honest, and we sort of agreed on everything anyway. So that's fine. Yeah. But so some of your questions were very good, Lisa.
Yeah. So I've written some questions, and you know what? I could have kept writing them. So maybe we need to do a relationships part 2. I mean, who knows? So actually, I've just thought of a question that would be great to start with. That's not even on the list. So let's start with this. Because I haven't thought about it, I might not even word it right. What I want to say is, how important is it to be in a relationship? Because the reason I ask this, I've got several friends who live amazing lives and choose not to be in a relationship. And for me, I think that is, that is wonderful. They're living their life exactly as they want. I've been in a relationship since I was 17 years old. I know nothing else. So it's like, maybe not how important it is, but how does being in a relationship, like, what's your story, basically? Let's do that. What's your story? Because that'd be easier. But I just don't want people to listen to this and think, all 3 of us have been in long-term relationships, and there's people out there who choose to have really full, happy lives without a significant other. And I don't want it to be that, like, this way is best. Does that make sense?
No,
get rabbit there. But so, what's your relationship story? I've been with Glenn since I was 17, and that's it, really. to today, we're
20 years then.
Yes, a mere smidgen of time. Paul, what about you?
Well, it's weird. I think on the gay scene especially, it's quite. People like to meet and just have fun, but that was never me. I was always looking for a relationship, and I don't know. It's just something I always wanted. But you're right, Lisa. I do wonder sometimes, what would it be like to be single? Not that I want to be single right now.
Yeah.
But when I was single, I always wanted a relationship. Is it that thing of the grass is green on the other side? Is it that you don't feel complete unless you're in a relationship? Are you the kind of person that likes to share experiences and life experiences? And I think I am, and I'm guessing you two are the same. And I can't imagine being single, but I'd also like to think, if I was single, that I think, to be honest, I think if something happened to myself and Anthony, I would probably want to stay single for a long time. And see how that goes, and just I don't know, it's a tough one, isn't it? I think there are some things that are easier when you're single. You've not got the discussion of where we're going today, what are we doing today, what we're watching on TV,
what we're having for dinner. That you ask
I want to go vegetarian, but the other one doesn't. It's so some things are simpler, and like you, I've met people who are single and really happy and are happy in their own. I don't know. again, when I've thought last week's discussion sort of led up to this, didn't it? About what is our perfect day. And my perfect day, if I was on my own, I would like to think that would bring me happiness if I was on my own.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense, Paul. You know, that does. I think the same. I would love to think that my life could be as equally fulfilling.
Yeah.
You know, without Glenn. Glenn's never going to watch this. He don't even watch our videos. He's never going to watch it. I can say what I like. But anyway, Maxine, what's your relationship story?
Well, I was with my previous partner from 17 until 45. Yeah. And then we split up. But I met Steve really quickly afterwards. So Steve and I have been together 12 years next month. And I only had a short period by myself. I enjoyed that time because I could do what I wanted and when I wanted, and I didn't have anybody else to think about, which was quite nice. And I think, and it was needed at the time as well. But now I wouldn't want to ever be by myself again. Well, as Paul's just said, I think if anything ever happened to Steve, then I would definitely not get into another relationship. I know that because that's the way this relationship is totally different. And I found my true soulmate now.
Yeah. Oh, that's lovely. That is, that's lovely. I'm just looking. Kelly has just put. Let's have a look.
Wow.
Me and my partner have known each other since I was 11. He was 16, but we didn't get into our relationship till I was 28 and he was 33. And he is my whole world and could not imagine life without him. That's lovely, Kelly. That really is. Let's have a look. Lucy, I had a relationship now on my own, solo boating. Well done, Lucy. It's not greener on the other side, just a different way of life. Yes, I'm lonely, but now appreciate passing conversations. That's really interesting. I think what Lucy says is that we have this tendency to look at one way. I mean, because we're only comparing being in a long-term relationship and being on your own. I mean, that's not the only two ways of being. There's lots and lots of other different ways to be in relationships. And I think there's a tendency, you know, I admit to, you know, is that you look at one and you think, oh, you know, that's you know, that's got its merits, or that's, you know, that's got its disadvantages, but they're just different ways of life. And there's many, many multiple ways to be in relationships.
Yeah.
So, Pamela, my husband gives me confidence. I'd be lost without him, and I don't like my own company. That is really interesting. Me and Glenn at the weekend talked about how life would be if I was on my own without Glenn, like, as in if he died. We went dark. We were talking like that. And I said to Glenn is, you know, I'm pretty confident going places. I mean, if I was meeting a friend, I have no problem like walking into a pub on my own and sitting waiting. Or, do you know what I mean? I don't lack confidence, I don't think. But I do think that being with Glenn gives me confidence or reassurance or just that companionship on doing stuff. I was saying to Glenn, maybe I need to practice doing stuff on my own. You know. Lucy, I've been watching you since you started and finally plucked my courage to say you're all giving me meaning. Oh, Lucy, thank you so much for joining us. Yeah. So, okay, let's start with the list. Is it important that you both like the same things?
No. And as soon as I asked Anthony that this morning, he said no.
Yeah.
I think the times when I used to go off to magic clubs to a meeting, I felt bad because Anthony was in on his own and he'd been in work all day. But that little break does you good, I think. And to have different interests, I think it'd be quite dull if you both had exactly the same interest. I just wish Anthony had my interest in romantic films instead of horror films, because I can't, as soon as he's on that Netflix, he's like, everything's gory and horrific, and he's like, it's not a horror film. I'm like, you're lying. There's a body on the screen, and like somebody with no head. It's not romantic, is it? It's going to be a horror.
Maybe the question should be: is it important that you like the same things on TV? Maybe that needs to be the question.
That causes some arguing, I must admit. But yeah, it is nice to have different interests, and yeah. And I think it would be nice if you had some of the same interests, because I would love nothing more than to be sat doing my art. And Anthony is quite good at digital art, for him to be sat doing his digital art. But his way of relaxing when he gets in from work is to watch TV, and I can understand that. But yeah, that works fine. On a boat. We were talking about that as well, but I think that may be a later question about having that space. It's difficult on a boat sometimes.
I agree, Paul. Actually, I think it's important to have different interests, because at least you've got something, to share. When also, like Glenn's interest, talking of TV, ours aren't the same. He watches like gold mining programs and like people like fishing. When I say fishing, it's like, some sort of crab fishing there's danger, there's like dramatic, all of that. I don't need that in my life. I don't, and he doesn't like Bridgerton. I mean, we're just poles apart there. But I think it's good to have, other interests. Maxine, what do you think?
We're really, really similar with our interests, and we've seen, like TV and films and everything. We both like the same thing, music-wise, and things like that. But I agree, it is nice to go and do something completely away and separately as well. So I've got my own interests that I can do by myself as well. But 90% of them, I would say that we do everything together.
You're perfectly matched. No TV arguments for you.
No.
Lisa, can I just make a point as well? That was something that came up in conversation this morning. Do you remember, I found it really difficult during lockdown to adjust, and I think Anthony did, and it took us a while to gel together, because Anthony his routine was work Monday to Friday. I would work at the weekend. It's very rare we saw each other just in the evening. And I think we sort of rubbed each other up the wrong way, because Anthony would be in work all day and I'd be at home as soon as he got in, and I was bored because I had nobody to talk to. So it was like, I'm in his ear and he's just getting from work. And I think we craved that wanting to go out and meet people and have a conversation with other people, the two of us included. But it does add that variety to your life, doesn't it? I think, for us, it was really important to go out and do things. And our little treat, which is go for a walk, go to the cafe, have coffee and cake, is our little day out, really.
Yeah. I think that's a really interesting topic of conversation, Paul. Is especially if you've been in whether you've been in a relationship with someone for a long time or a short time. COVID came along, and relationships changed throughout that time, without a doubt, didn't they? Glenn in the boat, he was just like a caged, he was pulling up the floorboards just to find jobs to do. I mean, thank goodness he found Amazon deliveries to get him out there. But I think COVID came along and
tested a lot of relationships, didn't it? Really?
Yeah, absolutely. So what does being a partner mean to you? It's a bit of a vague question, but so feel free to interpret it. For me, I feel that being a partner it's about a shared experience, but also, and to be honest, you know, this is the philosophy that I have with my kids as well, is that to know someone's got your back at all times, regardless, right? And I think I often say that to Glenn and to the kids, wherever you are in the world, whatever's going on, I've got your back, whatever. And I think there comes you're freer to live in the world knowing that someone's got your back. Does that make sense?
Totally.
For me, that sort of
it's very reassuring, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think for me, it's what does a partnership mean for me? It's like Anthony feels like my best friend, but like Maxine said, also my soulmate. You know, you can't imagine life without them. That's what it means to me. And I think it's sharing experiences, having a laugh together. You know, you've definitely got to have a laugh, because you can have an argument, and if you can laugh about it afterwards, that's fine. Never go to bed on an argument.
These are those pearls of wisdom coming out now, Paul.
My cousin said that to me, and when I lay there for 9 hours at night not sleeping because we got to bed on an argument, like, it's not worth it. Why am I sulking? I'm just not doing. I
sometimes wake up the following morning and I'm waking up and I'm like, do you want a cup of coffee? And I think, hold on, I'm angry with you. I've just remembered.
No, don't do it. It's not worth it for your own sanity.
Maxine, what does being in a relationship, what does that like mean to you? Being a partner, what does being a partner mean to you?
It's very much like Paul has just said, and you've said as well, it's being there for that person, having their back. It doesn't matter what happens, you're there and they're there for you, and just being supportive throughout. So whatever struggles you're going through, you know that no matter what anybody else is thinking, you can go and discuss and everything, and they will be on your side, unless you're doing something really stupid, obviously, but majority of times. And having really good laughs and everything, and it can be at their expense as well, which I've done many times, and something's happened and I've just got the giggles.
That's good. I'd be interested to hear from others, you know, what being a partner in a relationship, what it means, what it looks like to other people. So Louise from Narrowboat Changing Paces just said hello. She is on a massive road trip. She's not driving, by the way, so don't worry. Dave driving. She said that Dave and her are opposites. So Maggie's put she hides the remote control from her hubby. There's another person that has completely different TV viewing.
I'm going to take the circuit out. I'm going to take the fuse out of the plug.
Hello to Little Native. Do I say that right? Little Native Crocheting. In my head, I read it, and then when I say it, it doesn't sound right. But anyway, she puts. I
know this person, and I think it's Little Native.
It's a great name, but I read it in my head and then stumble when I say it out loud. We all need a hobby. My hobby is knitting and crocheting and playing the guitar. Nice. Mark's but nervous laugh in there. I'm not sure where I'm at. There's going to be much nervous laugh in this conversation. So, how important is personal space in a relationship? Paul?
Very.
Yeah, very.
Maxine. Okay, Maxine, you go first. Maxine, go on then.
Go on,
I
Maxine.
think it really, and I've realised that more now that we've moved onto the boat. I knew I was going to need my space, because I like to go and chill out and do my own little thing, and that's why I'm in the crutch. And I this is my area, and this is where I can go and chill out. And I must admit, Steve doesn't really need it. He's quite happy to be there 24/7. But I go for my walks and things like that. But I think it's healthy just go and have, you know, not have to have hours and hours or anything like that, but like half an hour I need every day just for me.
For you. Yeah.
I'm
Cool.
sensing something here, Maxine, because if that was me and Anthony, we'd just moored up a year ago, we'd been arguing and like I'd gone down the canal for a walk. Has Steve been off in a huff? Let's be honest. Has Steve just gone off in a huff?
He has gone for a walk. I've just seen him go past with the dog. But no, he was quite happy about it all.
Yeah. Well, we found that really difficult. I think I've touched on this before, that when we were first cruising and we'd had our helmsman training and we'd done day hire, but it was really difficult at first to adjust to that, because we'd both be stood on the stern. I was usually filming and Anthony would usually be at the tiller, and I'd say, "Oh, you're about 2 feet from the side," and he'd say, I know, and take it as a criticism, when actually I'm just trying to guide him. And after 10 days, I said, we can't go on like this. If I'm asking you, is crew getting off? It's not a criticism, it's a question. The other day when we got here and we got to Burscough and we filled with water, and I said to him, 2 feet from the bank, and he moored up and we got off, and that's how it should be. But it's taken us all this time to. And I almost thought, well, I actually said, Anthony, well done. You took that as guidance. You get a good boy sticker, is what I said. And I was waiting for a Saki comment. Oh, so
I was just wondering, like, actually, that what you've just said, as I'm going to add another question to the list.
Oh no.
is what role does stress play, or what does stress look like in your relationship? We'll come back to that in a second, because I think that's a key one. Because what I was thinking whilst you were saying that is, when you're learning, I was going to say to navigate a narrowboat, but to drive a car or to do anything that's a new skill that you're acquiring, it's quite a stressful situation. And I think that's exactly, what you described there, is when under stress, it doesn't always go so smoothly. We'll come back to that. So what do I think about?
Go on, Lisa. Yeah, go on.
I was just going to say personal space. Well, Glenn and I, we worked together for many years. So literally we would be together 24/7, like the whole time. We'd work, we'd go off to work. We'd work in like a separate office most of the time, but we would be working together. We would be coming home together. We would be together the whole time. And we did that for years and years. And it worked all right, actually. I don't know, it's whether I get older, as we get older, and maybe we have more time for our own interests, that I really enjoy that space now. Whether it's for an hour, whether it's for an evening or a week, or, I'm going away with my mum next week down to the caravan. I know Glenn's really looking forward to it. He's lined up so many jobs. And when I'm away, he just crams so much into a day. Honestly, he only ever does it when I'm away. I mean, he'd like redecorate the house, he'd build something, he'd whatever. So I know he really enjoys that. And I enjoy it too, because I also look forward to, at the end of the week, when we get together again. So I think it's important to me now more than it was 10 or 15 or 20 years ago.
Yeah, absence definitely makes the heart grow fonder, doesn't it? And that's another thing we discussed this morning. I used to go off to magic conventions and ventriloquist conventions in America, and it would only be for 5 or 6 days. But it was definitely, I really looked forward to getting back, and I think you realise how much you miss that person. And even their annoying habits. It's like, I'm going to snitch Anthony up here. So it's annoying
Just
habit.
share it all. He won't watch.
He will. I'm hoping he doesn't watch this. He'll definitely watch this. No, he's not got any annoying habits.
No.
When we first got together, it was like having a kid, because he left his socks on the floor and his dirty laundry spread around. And he's like, now it's the opposite. But he said, oh, well, you miss those things if I didn't do them. And ever since we watched The Great Outdoors, I curse that film. I used to love it. you remember John Candy got in a car? Talking of personal space, they were ready for killing each other, weren't they, by the end of the trip?
Yeah.
And planes, trains, and automobiles I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So John Candy gets in the car, and not the Great Outdoor Street, gets in the car, and he takes his socks off John Candy and swings them round and goes, woo! Anthony does that to me, just to wind me up. I hate it, but still does it.
Oh man, that's so funny. That is so funny. Yeah, personal space. We'll give that one a big tick. Louise from Narrowboat Changing Pace, being in a relationship for us is complementing each other. So the differences, I'm wondering if you're like, if you're very different, that's complementing. Jennifer puts personal space is very important. Love my garden room with the dogs. Yeah, I was speaking. Oh, my neighbour wandering around outside. I thought she was going to knock on the door. So I saw someone on Facebook. You know how if you feel like you know someone, you've never met them before, but like they've popped up so many times, you feel like, I was about to say my friend, but I thought I've never met this person. But him and his partner they've got a big house and they've got separate lounges, separate, and they're decorated completely differently. I love that idea. So,
do they live in California?
No, they don't in the UK. But I think it's a good idea, isn't it? I love, and I've seen this out on the Cup more than once, is when a couple have their own boats.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
Great
holiday cafe boat.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, well, I used to be pottering about in that was the other thing. Sorry, Lisa. We were saying it was easier in a house because I would be in the office, stroke study, upstairs. Anthony would be downstairs playing his piano, and I'm quite listening. Sounds like we had a big grand house, doesn't it? His Steinway. Yeah. Elton was there giving him tips. I think, I used to like him playing the piano and practicing the piano, and I'd be upstairs doing my artwork or doing office work, and it was quite nice because you're in the same house, but you've got that space. It's more difficult on a boat, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. What's Lucy saying? Lucy says, I did lockdown with my 17-year-old son, and my bow cratch cover was my personal space until winter hit. Yeah, it's not so much fun out there in the winter. Yeah, you need to think ahead, Maxine.
I've got blankets and a big hoodie ready.
Yeah. So
that'll be inside the boat.
So this is a bit more of an abstract question.
Yeah.
Where do we learn what a healthy relationship looks like? I mean, the obvious one is our parents, isn't it? But that's all being well if everything was well with your parents. And Glenn's parents had a very challenging relationship. It was very volatile. It lasted a long time, and it was very volatile for a long time. And I think when you look at where you learn about relationships, it does come from our parents. It's that first family relationship that we know. But I think it's difficult if your parents haven't always had I want to use the word successful relationship, but I don't mean it in that way of like successful tick, but a happy
relationship.
Yeah. So what do you think? Do you think where we learn about relationships comes from our family, or have you had any other input, where you've aspired or you've seen people as role models? What do you reckon?
Well, we had a good discussion about that as well this morning, because if you think about like films, the way they portray relationships, even as a child, the Disney films, it's the princess and the prince live happily ever after, and I think if relationships were shown more honestly, maybe relationships would last longer, because maybe people have this false perception that when they get married, everything's going to be roses. And sometimes getting married isn't the answer. It can change a relationship. And yeah, I think so. It is that false perception, isn't it, of the movies again? And we were talking about this last week, that Christmas, we've got this ideal of what Christmas would be like, and it's all from books and movies. And then when it doesn't happen, it's a disappointment. And I think that could sometimes be a danger with relationships, unless, you know, I think, do you remember, was the American program 2.4 Children or Love and Marriage? Love and Marriage. That was quite an honest relationship, and it was hilarious for it. And I think if people watched that,
that's a good point. Maxine, what do you think about that?
To be honest, it's hard because my parents divorced when I was probably in my 17, 18, and it wasn't a pleasant marriage. When I look back, I don't think I realised it as much. Obviously, when I was involved in it, when I look back, and then, but now her marriage is just ideal. So later on in life, yes, I can see, that would be my goal. But previously, no, I don't know really. I think you say about programs and TV programs and things like that, I think people you get an idea in your head and you expect it to be like that when you get married, and it's not always the case. And because it's not real life that you see in films and TVs, and that's the problem, as Paul's just said.
And I think as well is we now have in the mix, social media, and the tendency not to show the messiness of life on social media is, it's just one of those things, isn't it? And I think I think there is this false, when you're feeling crap in a relationship, it's very easy to look at the world and to think the rest of the world has it figured out. I think that's just really difficult when you're in a crap situation. So
I've been in bad relationships in the past, and just like treated awful, and found out my partner was cheating. And I think then to meet somebody like Anthony, or your partner or your soulmate, it's such a contrast, and it makes you so much happier, and you realize that you're even luckier than you were if you'd have just met that person from the beginning. But another thing you were talking, we love it if we see an old couple holding hands walking through the park, and and you think, God, blimey, how long have they been together, and they still look really happy. And on the other hand of that, have you ever sat in a pub and there's a couple sat opposite each other and they don't speak all night? And you think, but that's not me in 30 years.
That exact same thing, Paul. I do that. If I see an old couple holding hands and walking along, I'm like, oh, bless them. And I used to think the same if I saw a couple like in a restaurant, they'd eat their meal, not say a word. Recently, I've started to change my view on that, because I'm like, if you're together all the time, actually, is it quite nice that you don't need to speak all the time? This comes from someone who speaks all the time. Do you know what I mean? I mean, Glenn doesn't get a word in edgeways. I'm just like, in fact, Glenn is so grateful that I turn up and speak to you guys, because it just like it lightens his load. Do you know what I mean? It really does. So anyway, where was it going? Role models, or learning about relationships. I think I think we just have to be so careful. Pamela, well, let's have a look what Pamela's saying. My mum, dad loved each other so much, and I had a wonderful childhood, and I thought everybody was the same as me until I met a friend at work, and her parents were awful. They both drunk. It really opened my eyes. To be honest, Pamela, I think that's the thing. When you're children, when you're young, you accept your life as it is. You think everybody's the same. It's not usually until I was going to say until you go to friends' houses when you're younger, but even then, it's not sometimes until you start work or you start working in retail and you suddenly get this realization people live very different lives, and how you've grown up is, everybody doesn't live the same way. So that is fascinating. Next question. How has your relationship changed over the years? Anyone want to go first in this one?
Shall I go? Making a cup of coffee. Go on.
Yeah.
Go on. You go first, Lisa, please.
Well, my relationship has changed so many times because I come to realise I'm not who I am when I was 17 years old. I'm not who I am when I was 27, 37, 47. I'm a different person. Glenn is a completely different person. When I met Glenn, and I've said this before, no one believes me, I was as quiet as a mouse, right? I was the most unconfident and I want to use the word like wallflower. I blended into wallpaper. I could be completely like, I could make myself completely invisible. That is who I was when I was 17. It was very different when I was 27 and so on. So as I changed, our relationship changed. As Glenn grew, our relationship changed. So it's been different all the time. It's not, in a way, to me, it still feels like a new relationship because we're so different from, who we were in the past. So ours has changed greatly, and I'm really pleased that it's done that, because I think it would be worrying if it was still the same as, I see the first 10 years as like practice anyway. Do you know what I mean? The first 2 years were chaos. We split up after we got married, and we'd had Naomi, and we split up. Glenn had an operation and thought he was going to die. He had appendicitis and it had all gone horribly wrong. And our life was bad. It wasn't great. No one was thriving in that relationship at all. I mean, I was mentally ill, to be honest. So it was, do you know what I mean? I needed to get help for my mental health struggles, and our relationship changed enormously as I worked on myself. So, those first, especially the 5 years, we just write them off. It's like that happened to someone else. So, yeah, ours has changed massively over the years. So, Paul, how about you?
I just think we've just gone through so much, and I think the longer you're with somebody, the more you go through. We've had our upsets, we've had, people we love pass away, people get cancer but then get through it, and it's sort of made us a stronger couple, if anything. I think everything that we've gone through, and then you look back and think back about the amazing places we've been, the holidays we've done together. We've done so much together. We've been together 21 years, but it feels like we've been, I don't, it sounds wrong, but we feel like we've packed that much in, almost like we've been together 40 years.
A lifetime. It feels a lifetime.
Yeah. It's just, I don't think it's changed that much. I think our circumstances have changed and our friendship circles change, and then we meet new people, and we're still in touch with a lot of our old friends. So I don't think it's changed as much as yours, Lisa. I just think it's grown and it's become a stronger relationship, and our circle of friends has got bigger, and our lives have become richer for it. And I think we definitely, I suppose one thing, we always craved a nice house and nice holidays and nice clothes, and all that's changed because now we realise the important thing after the tragedies that have happened, the important thing is just to be together. It wouldn't matter if we were sat in a park and we had a sandwich to share, or go to some big fancy, we probably would rather do that now than go to some big 5-star hotel in the restaurant and be spoiled rotten. It's just not us. And yeah, I think back to our civil partnership, and we probably did go a bit mad, you know, thousands of pounds on flowers and thousands of pounds on a venue, and we had a band, and you know, we probably could have just had a simple relationship in a field, in a field with our best friend and our dog. We'd loved it if our dog was there.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's funny how those values change over the years. The things we value and the things we hold important. Maybe that's where, you know, relationships, you know, I mean, I know plenty of people, especially when our kids were like 16, 17, 18. When our children got to that age, a lot of friends and people we knew, they split up. It was almost like they'd stayed together for the kids. Yeah. And then after that had gone, there was nothing left. Those values they didn't share them anymore. They didn't just, you know, there wasn't that common ground. So I think as you go and your life becomes richer, but on the opposite side, it can feel emptier and emptier if you don't do that. Maxine, what about you? Over the years, how has your relationship changed?
It hasn't really that much. But I mean, we've, as Paul just said, you feel like you've been together a lot longer. I mean, obviously I was only 12, coming up 12, but we have done so much. I've done more in the last 12 years than I did in the previous 25 years. And yeah, we just have such a fun-filled life, and I don't think our relationships really changed dramatically. Obviously, moving on to the boat has changed it slightly. I think we've had to be more patient with each other than we ever did before, because in a house you can just go and get out of each other's way. Like, you can't. You have to sort everything out and deal with things. So I don't think our relationship has changed.
It's just me with the roller coaster ride then. So. Yeah, definitely. I think though, you know, my teens, my 20s, they were difficult times for me, you know, finding out who I was and dealing with the mental health issues that I had. And becoming the person, you know, it's been, you know, my 40s and, you know, into my 50s and much more. I don't want to use the word settle, because we're definitely not settled, because we move around a lot and we're forever changing stuff. But I mean, settled in who we are. Do you know what I mean? Although, did I not just say to you before we came on about doing one about identity and changing our lives? I decided at the weekend that I was going to completely change my identity. So, I'm working on that as a plan. We maybe talk about that next week. So, let's have a look.
Excuse me.
So,
I just dropped these on the floor, and Dexter was about to lay on them.
Oh, was that an art plug there, Paul?
Yeah.
It was, yeah. 5x7 postcards available now. I've not put them on the site yet.
So little nitty crocheting. So the question is really, we all need a bit more space in our life from our partners. I think so. Let me see. Kath's. Let's have a look at Kath's message here. My parents' relationship was not one to aspire to, but it showed me what I wouldn't accept in a relationship. I judge any relationship by how it makes me feel and whether it allows me to grow. Kath, that is such a good point. And I think I know for sure Glenn often will say that, you know, because of the turmoil that he experienced while he was growing up. He knew for sure, without a doubt, that wasn't what he wanted to create. And I think that is, you know, really important. And Kath also says, I've changed since my 20s, and that's what I mean about a relationship allowing you to grow.
Yeah.
And again, that's fundamental. I mean, we do grow. We have to. We can't be our younger selves because of all the experiences that we have. It changes us. Little Native crocheting, I think it all comes down to life skills and what we learn as we go along in life. Yeah, for sure. Lucy says, I hear it's called character building. Yeah, that's what that messy life I have is called. Let's see what Mark's saying. Mark says, Paul and I have been together for 24 years now. Our relationship has evolved and changed through the years. We spend time together, but we still do our own thing from time to time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, absolutely. I think it's so important. I've got so many questions about relationships. We could dig so deep, but we'd be here for hours and hours. Maybe we need a relationships part 2. In a while, where we look at, like, you know, maybe all those pearls of wisdom will come out then. We're in part 2, but I think we've covered a lot, and we've been chatting for 51 minutes. That's a long time.
It's a record for
So I think we should leave it there. Now, last week we ended up by saying something that cheered us or we'd loved watching, and I have just remembered that. So is there anything this week, Paul, that you have seen or done, or go on?
Within this week, so at the weekend, we were still in Parbold, and because we're close to home, our parents came to visit, which they haven't done for a year. Our friends came to visit, who we've not seen for about 3 years, and we had 2 or 3 viewers who turned up, one with a bottle of wine and one with some eggs from our own chickens, and they all bought art as well, and it was just so nice to meet them. And you know, you sort of get to see these names, don't you, every week, and until you meet the people, you have no idea what they're really like, and it was just so nice to meet them. Yeah, we really enjoyed it.
Love that. That's wonderful. Maxine, have you got anything that has cheered you this week?
Yeah, my mum and dad came down on Sunday because my dad wanted his hair cut. Even though my cousin cuts hair and lives round the corner, he said, no, Maxine's been doing it for 32 years. I'm going to find her. So on the towpath, he had his hair cut before he went away.
Oh,
it was fun.
That is excellent. And I'm actually, I mean, when I say I'm struggling to find something, I'm struggling to find something with any real depth and meaning. I'm just having a lovely week, and I saw Louise and Dave from Narrowboat Changing Pace, which was a complete, like, didn't expect that at the beginning of the week. So that cheered me to see them. So yeah, I'm going to remember to find something deep and meaningful. I'm going to look out for what I'm reading and what I'm watching, see if there's anything that I can share with you for next week. So for now, that is it for this week's chat. Thank you so much for joining us. Well, I know we all do, don't we? We really appreciate you joining us in this conversation. I'm excited about next week. I really think we should talk about changing who we are, our identities. Honestly, bear with me with this one. I think I'm going to have it figured out by next week. So I'm working on Lisa 2.0, and we'll see how that evolves. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you next week. Take care.
Thanks a lot, everyone. Bye.